Robert Oppenheimer, born in 1904, grew up in a wealthy New York family, showing early brilliance in science and literature. His privileged upbringing and intellectual curiosity set the stage for his future achievements. Drawn to physics, he would eventually unlock the atom's devastating power. Oppenheimer excelled at the Ethical Culture School and later at Harvard, where he pursued chemistry. His interest in theoretical physics grew, leading him to study at Cambridge under J.J. Thomson. In Europe, he formed pivotal relationships and made significant contributions to quantum physics. Oppenheimer's fascination with the Bhagavad Gita and the rise of fascism shaped his worldview. His research in quantum physics laid the groundwork for the atomic bomb. This internal conflict between scientific pursuit and moral responsibility defined his legacy. At Caltech and Berkeley, Oppenheimer became a leading figure in theoretical physics. He mentored young scientists and made significant contributions to quantum field theory and cosmic rays. His bold ideas and charismatic teaching inspired a new generation of physicists. The rise of Nazi Germany and the discovery of nuclear fission in 1938 alarmed the scientific community. Oppenheimer, troubled by fascism, became politically active and recognized the potential for science to be weaponized. The fear of a Nazi atomic bomb created a moral dilemma for scientists. Oppenheimer grappled with the ethical implications of developing the atomic bomb. Despite his reservations, he joined the Manhattan Project, motivated by patriotism and fear of Nazi Germany. This decision marked a turning point, directing his brilliance towards creating a weapon of mass destruction. In 1942, Oppenheimer led the Manhattan Project's Los Alamos laboratory. He assembled a team of brilliant scientists, overcoming immense challenges to build the atomic bomb. His leadership and scientific acumen were crucial to the project's success. The Manhattan Project pushed scientific and engineering boundaries. Oppenheimer's team developed new processes for producing fissile material and designed the bomb. Despite immense pressure, they persevered, driven by the potential to end the war. The urgency of the Manhattan Project intensified as the war raged on. Oppenheimer's leadership maintained morale and focus despite isolation and espionage threats. His ability to inspire his team was crucial in overcoming the immense pressure and responsibility. Trinity, the dawn of a new age. On July 16, 1945, the world's first atomic bomb test, codenamed Trinity, took place. The test forever altered the course of human history. The atmosphere was a mixture of anticipation and apprehension. As the countdown commenced, a hush fell over the assembled scientists and military observers. The detonation, when it came, was an event of unimaginable power. The mushroom cloud became an enduring symbol of the atomic age. For Oppenheimer, witnessing the test evoked a mix of emotions. The success confirmed his belief in scientific inquiry, but also unleashed a profound sense of unease. Oppenheimer famously recalled a line from the Bhagavad Gita, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds." Section 4. The Weight of the World, Oppenheimer's Moral Reckoning. The successful Trinity test marked a turning point in Oppenheimer's life. He had achieved what he had set out to do, lead the development of a weapon that could help end the war. But the victory came at a profound personal cost. The enormity of the atomic bomb's destructive power, the realization of its potential to unleash unimaginable suffering, triggered a deep moral reckoning. within him. The use of atomic bombs against the Japanese cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki just weeks after the Trinity test further intensified Oppenheimer's moral struggle. While he understood the strategic rationale behind the bombings, the horrific images of the devastation and the immense loss of life filled him with profound regret and a sense of responsibility. Oppenheimer's internal conflict, the struggle between his role as a scientist and his responsibilities as a human being, became increasingly public. He emerged as a vocal advocate for international control of atomic energy, urging world leaders to prevent the proliferation of nuclear weapons and to find peaceful solutions to international conflicts. His outspokenness, however, drew criticism from some quarters. During the Cold War, a time of heightened suspicion and fear, his past affiliations with leftist organizations and his opposition to the development of the hydrogen bomb made him a target of McCarthyism. In 1954, his security clearance was revoked following a controversial hearing, effectively ending his government service and casting a shadow over his legacy. Section 4. The Weight of the World, Oppenheimer's Moral Reckoning. The successful Trinity test marked a turning point in Oppenheimer's life. He had achieved what he had set out to do, lead the development of a weapon that could help end the war. But the victory came at a profound personal cost. The enormity of the atomic bomb's destructive power triggered a deep moral reckoning within him. The use of atomic bombs against Hiroshima and Nagasaki intensified his moral struggle. While he understood the strategic rationale, the devastation filled him with profound regret. Oppenheimer's internal conflict became increasingly public. He emerged as a vocal advocate for international control of atomic energy. His outspokenness drew criticism during the Cold War. In 1954, his security clearance was revoked, casting a shadow over his legacy. Section 5. Shifting Sands, the post-war world and the atomic legacy. The atomic age began, changing the world forever. Hiroshima and Nagasaki showed the destructive power of the bomb. The Cold War began, defined by nuclear tension. Oppenheimer struggled with the consequences of his creation. The bomb became a symbol of existential dread. Despite controversy, Oppenheimer's impact on science was undeniable. His leadership showed the power of human ingenuity. His story is a cautionary tale of moral dilemmas in science. The bomb, meant to end tyranny, became a potential destroyer. Oppenheimer's legacy is complex, highlighting the moral complexities of scientific progress. Section 1. Mushroom Clouds and Shockwaves. The world reacts to Hiroshima, August 6, 1945, a date forever etched in the annals of history. The world, still reeling from the devastation of World War II, awoke to news that defied comprehension. Hiroshima, a city of bustling streets and vibrant life, had been reduced to rubble. The culprit, a weapon unlike any the world had ever seen, the atomic bomb. News of the bombing spread like wildfire, carried on radio waves and whispered through telephone lines. Initial reports were fragmented, often contradictory, leaving people struggling to grasp the magnitude of what had transpired. The sheer scale of the destruction, the unprecedented loss of life, was simply unfathomable. The world watched in horror as images of the devastation emerged. The iconic mushroom cloud, a chilling testament to the bomb's power, became a symbol of a terrifying new era. Buildings reduced to dust, shadows burned into walls, the unimaginable suffering of the hibakusha, the survivors. These images seared themselves into the global consciousness. Reactions to the bombing were swift and diverse. For many in the Allied nations, there was a sense of relief, a belief that this terrible weapon had brought a swift end to a long and bloody war. Others, however, were filled with a profound sense of unease. The sheer destructive power of the atomic bomb, the indiscriminate death it unleashed, raised troubling questions about the future of humanity. As the world grappled with the implications of Hiroshima, another tragedy unfolded. Just 3 days later, on August 9, 1945, a second atomic bomb was dropped on the Japanese city of Nagasaki. This time the target was a port city, a hub of industrial and military activity. Yet again, a blinding flash and a deafening roar announced the arrival of unimaginable destruction. The Nagasaki bombing, if possible, amplified the global sense of shock and horror. The use of a second atomic bomb so soon after the first raised profound questions about the necessity of such devastation. Was it a brutal but necessary act to force Japan's surrender? Or was it a horrific act of unnecessary violence, a sign of a dangerous new world order? For the people of Nagasaki, the bombing was an unspeakable tragedy. Thousands perished in an instant, their lives extinguished in a flash of unimaginable heat and force. The survivors, many bearing horrific injuries from the blast and the subsequent radiation sickness, faced a long and arduous road to recovery. The Nagasaki bombing solidified the atomic bomb's place as a weapon of unparalleled destructive power. It also intensified the global debate about the ethical implications of nuclear weapons. The genie was out of the bottle, and the world would never be the same. The bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki still cause a lot of discussion. Some people believe the bombings were needed to make Japan surrender, saving many lives that would have been lost if the war continued. Others believe Japan was already close to giving up and the bombings were needlessly cruel. No matter what you believe about the bombings, they definitely played a big part in Japan's surrender. On August 15, 1945, just 6 days after Nagasaki, Emperor Hirohito announced Japan's unconditional surrender. World War II was finally over. The Emperor's radio speech was a huge moment in history. Speaking in formal Japanese, a way of speaking most people didn't understand, Hirohito talked about the terrible destruction caused by the atomic bombs and how pointless it was to keep fighting. His words, though carefully chosen, showed how difficult this decision was and how much sadness people in Japan felt. Gap 2S. When Japan surrendered, the world changed forever. The war was over, but the atomic bomb had left its mark. We'd entered a new age and there was no going back. The atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki marked the beginning of the atomic age, an era defined by both the promise and the peril of nuclear technology. For Robert Oppenheimer, the man who had led the Manhattan Project, the aftermath of the bombings brought a mix of emotions, relief, horror, and a profound sense of responsibility. Oppenheimer, hailed as a hero for his role in ending the war, found himself wrestling with the moral implications of his creation. The devastation he had unleashed weighed heavily on his conscience, leading him to become a vocal advocate for international control of atomic energy. We knew the world would not be the same, Oppenheimer later reflected. A few people laughed, a few people cried, most people were silent. I remembered the line from the Hindu scripture, the Bhagavad Gita, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds." I suppose we all thought that one way or another. Oppenheimer's words capture the profound sense of uncertainty and trepidation that characterized the early years of the atomic age. The world had entered uncharted territory, and the future seemed fraught with both promise and peril. The legacy of the atomic bomb and Oppenheimer's place in that legacy would continue to be debated for generations to come. The horrors of Hiroshima and Nagasaki weighed heavily on Oppenheimer. The man who had once been driven by the urgency of scientific breakthrough now found himself grappling with the profound ethical implications of his creation. He understood that the world had entered a dangerous new era, one where the power to destroy civilization itself rested in human hands. Driven by a profound sense of responsibility, Oppenheimer emerged as a vocal advocate for international control of atomic energy. He believed that the only way to prevent a catastrophic nuclear war was to place this awesome power under the auspices of a global authority, an entity capable of preventing its proliferation and misuse. He tirelessly engaged with politicians, scientists, and the public, urging them to consider the long-term consequences of unchecked nuclear proliferation. His message was clear. The genie was out of the bottle, and the only hope for humanity lay in collective action, in recognizing the shared peril of the nuclear age and working together to prevent its darkest possibilities from becoming reality. Oppenheimer's advocacy, however, was met with mixed reactions. Some lauded his courage and foresight, recognizing the urgency of his message. Others, however, viewed his warnings with suspicion, seeing them as naive or even bordering on treasonous in the charged political climate of the emerging Cold War. And the post-war years saw a dramatic shift in the global political landscape. The wartime alliance between the United States and the Soviet Union rapidly deteriorated, replaced by an atmosphere of suspicion, distrust, and ideological conflict. This period, known as the Cold War, would cast a long shadow over global affairs, and Oppenheimer, once hailed as a national hero, would find himself caught in its crosshairs. The rise of McCarthyism, a period of intense anti-communist paranoia in the United States, created a climate of fear and suspicion that permeated all aspects of American life. Oppenheimer, with his past affiliations with leftist organizations and his outspoken opposition to the development of the hydrogen bomb, a weapon far more powerful than the atomic bombs dropped on Japan, became a target of this witch hunt. In 1954, Oppenheimer's security clearance was revoked following a controversial hearing. He was accused of being a security risk, his loyalty to the United States questioned, his past associations scrutinized. The hearing, a highly publicized affair, became a symbol of the excesses of McCarthyism, a stark reminder of the dangers of unchecked political persecution and the fragility of individual rights in the face of fear and suspicion. The revocation of his security clearance was a devastating blow to Oppenheimer, both professionally and personally. He was stripped of his access to classified information, effectively ending his government service and his direct involvement in the scientific and policy debates that he cared so deeply about. Despite the personal and professional setbacks he faced, Oppenheimer never wavered in his commitment to his principles. He continued to speak out against the nuclear arms race, urging world leaders to seek peaceful solutions to international conflicts and to recognize the shared humanity that bound all nations together. He returned to academia, accepting a position as the director of the Institute for Advanced Study in Princeton, New Jersey. There, he surrounded himself with some of the world's brightest minds, engaging in discussions on a wide range of topics, from theoretical physics and cosmology to philosophy and the arts. Oppenheimer's later years were marked by a deep sense of reflection on the nature of science, its relationship to society, and the ethical responsibilities of scientists. He recognized the double-edged sword of scientific progress, the potential for knowledge to be used for both good and evil. He often spoke about the importance of moral courage in the face of difficult choices, the need for scientists to consider the potential consequences of their work, and the crucial role of dialogue and understanding in bridging the gap between the scientific community and the wider public. The enduring shadow Oppenheimer's impact on science and morality. Robert Oppenheimer's legacy is a complex and multifaceted one. He was a brilliant physicist, a charismatic leader, and a complex figure who found himself at the center of one of the most consequential events in human history. His role in leading the Manhattan Project cemented his place in the annals of science, but it also cast a long shadow over his life. The atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, while marking the end of a devastating war, also ushered in a new era of existential dread, a world forever haunted by the specter of nuclear annihilation. Oppenheimer's story is a reminder that scientific progress is not without its moral dilemmas. The pursuit of knowledge, while essential to human advancement, must always be guided by a sense of responsibility for its potential consequences. His post-war advocacy for international control of atomic energy, his willingness to speak truth to power, and his unwavering commitment to his principles serve as an enduring legacy. In an age of rapid technological advancement, Oppenheimer's story reminds us that the most important questions are not always scientific ones, but rather ethical ones. The choices we make today, the technologies we develop, and the values we embrace will determine the future of our species and the fate of our planet. Oppenheimer's life and legacy stand as a stark reminder of this profound responsibility. the troubled genius Oppenheimer's internal conflicts and external pressures. Robert Oppenheimer's life reads like a Greek tragedy. A brilliant mind, he was tasked with wielding a power that could end civilization. This paradox of scientific curiosity and moral responsibility defined his legacy. Even as he directed the Manhattan Project, unease lingered within him. He understood the gravity of what he was creating. His later reflections on the Trinity test reveal his internal conflict. The bombings marked a turning point in his life. The devastation weighed heavily on his conscience. His post-war advocacy for nuclear disarmament was a plea to atone for the devastation. He grappled with the moral implications of his actions. A legacy forged in the fires of history, Oppenheimer's enduring impact. Oppenheimer's story is a complex narrative about the intersection of science, politics, and morality. His legacy includes groundbreaking scientific contributions and his role in the Manhattan Project. He is remembered as the father of the atomic bomb and a post-war advocate for peace. Oppenheimer's leadership at Los Alamos and his understanding of scientific principles solidified his place in history. His transformation to a vocal advocate for peace demonstrated his deep understanding of the ethical implications of his work. Oppenheimer's willingness to challenge the political and military establishment solidified his status as a tragic hero. Reflecting on Oppenheimer's legacy in the 21st century. Decades after Oppenheimer's death, his legacy continues to spark debate and reflection. We live in a world forever changed by his work, where the threat of nuclear war remains an ever-present shadow. Oppenheimer's story raises questions about the role of scientists, ethical implications, and the balance between security and responsibility. His legacy reminds us that scientific progress must consider ethical implications. The pursuit of knowledge must be tempered by understanding potential consequences. Oppenheimer's life highlights the importance of open dialogue and informed debate. Decisions about new technologies will have far-reaching consequences. Engaging in thoughtful discussions and prioritizing ethics is essential. Oppenheimer's legacy reminds us that knowledge without conscience is dangerous. His story compels us to ensure our quest for progress is guided by wisdom and compassion.